Okay, now imagine that before we were born, as our energy world got bubble, our unit of grace got organized. None of us fell from trees. We were sort of all, our life was timed. Our entry into life was timed. If you study nature, which I do all the time, if you look at the unbelievable structure of nature, everything is timed. Spring is timed, tides, everything. One of the masterful, one thing nature teaches us is that all things in God's timing. And to tamper with timing is one of the mechanisms that is a great mistake. One of the great teachings, a teacher shows up in your time. When you are ready for knowledge, that knowledge comes to you. You cannot mess with the timing that is already scheduled for you. It is scheduled for you. What you have to understand is there is a map that is scheduled in your soul. It is scheduled. Your soul was not a construct that just sort of like, oh well, here's one soul, and as if your precious souls were just tossed from the celestial forces and like, oh well, wherever she lands, she lands. That one fell in Vladivostok, that one's there, that one's there. This is not the way you came into being. This is not. Even down to the second you came in to form. Now, I want you to come back to the apartment building where it says personal and then impersonal. At the personal level, if I put you on a personal floor, like floor number 3 or 2, this is low. This is a floor of the ego, where the moment I put that information out to you, you want to know, well, where and why, and it's all about you. So you think the whole universe was scheduled for your birth. And it's all about you. I want to know all about me. And why me? And for what reason? And me? And what's mine? And your greediness comes up. But the higher level, the question is, for what role of service was I scheduled to come down? For what role of service? You scheduled me for what map? To give what? And what are my allied archetypal forces? Because each of us was assigned mythic patterns to assist that have always been part of human evolution. And we engage in our lifetime in mythic patterns that have been part of evolution long before we came, and we will do our bit to participate in those evolutionary patterns in our life, to take them forward, to move them along. And after we die, those archetypal patterns will still be in place, but we will have done our bit to move them along. How many archetypes are there? They're countless, and they continue to evolve. For example, we have an archetype now called the networker. We have an archetype, I use it because I was just in need of a computer thing called the geek. We never had that before. We have an archetype called the hacker, the hacktivist activist, kind of an archetype, I suppose, that's part of the rebel sort of person, but an offshoot of that. But we are always evolving archetypal patterns. These are what I would call sort of like the minor sort of archetypes. But the major celestial ones of the arcana that will always be there will always be there. There'll always be a mother. There'll always be a father. There'll always be the grander archetypes. There'll always be a trickster. Because there's always that element at play in the universe. You know, there's certain of the archetypal patterns, there'll always be a judge. There'll always be certain forces that are present within us. And then there's these lesser ones that kind of show up. And they are maybe expressions of these greater ones, but these babies are here. There'll always be a warrior. We will never not wage war. We will never not wage war. The archetype of the pirate, for example, has made a major comeback. Huh?
The internet pirating stuff off the internet.
Yeah, the internet. The pirate has now become the internet pirate. And the pirates off the Somalia coast. And pirating has become, why? Because things are scarce again. And then they're clever again. And boundaries are becoming vaporous again. And the barbarian's back. Barbaric activity is on the rise. Certainly in my country. Okay, so with this in mind, imagine that when you incarnated, you were assigned archetypal patterns that are absolutely parametering you. Absolutely. They absolutely do. There are certain archetypal patterns every one of us has. Now, we have 4 that we share, and I'm going to actually talk about those. But there are 8 others that are personal to you, that are very strongly active in you. And these archetypal patterns, they are so unbelievably strong. They're so powerful. And you think, well, you know, that's interesting. I'm gonna find out what my archetypes are. It's, you know what? These little rascals are so deep in you. They're such a part of you. They're so invisible. They're so much a part of your skin tissue, cell tissue, that you don't even get that when someone is stepping on one of your archetypal toes. Okay, because this is what's hard. Come up to the penthouse. I'm going to just share some things with you. One is that there isn't one thing you say, do, think, wear, own, live. Nothing. Everything, every single thing, everything about you is tied to one of your archetypes.